The death toll from the Turkey-Syria earthquake tops 37,000. This makes the quake the sixth deadliest natural disaster of the 21st century. Rescue hopes dwindle, but the search for quake survivors goes on. South Korea is set to send a second round of rescue teams with much-needed supplies. Seoul, Washington, and Tokyo have refreshed their trilateral cooperation against nuclear and missile threats from Pyongyang, urging the regime come back to dialogue. Over a week on from the devastating earthquake in Turkey and Syria, and the death toll has now surpassed 37,000. Despite the grim figures, there have also been stories of miracles. Our Eason starts us off this morning.
Each hour, each day, time is running out for rescuers in their desperate search for survivors in earthquake-stricken Turkey and Syria. Over a week after the deadly earthquake struck the two countries, the death toll has now surpassed 37,000. According to Turkish authorities, over 31,000 people have been killed in Turkey, while some 6,000 were killed in northwest Syria. The latest earthquake is now the sixth deadliest natural disaster in the 21st century. Experts say the number of lives lost could surpass Pakistan's earthquake in 2005, which killed over 73,000. However, despite the grim figures and time running out for rescuers, stories of miracles continue to surface. That includes a 13-year-old boy who was rescued after being trapped under rubble for 182 hours. Although in small numbers, rescuers have found other survivors a week after the earthquake. However, due to the sheer danger of moving rubble with survivors trapped underneath, the rescue operation must be done with great care.
Building inside is super dangerously collapsed, so you cannot just go inside, and you should be really careful also not to harm the people inside. So we are like we say in Turkey, we are digging with our nails. One by one, slowly, slowly, slowly.
Meanwhile, amid the ongoing search and rescue operation, a cholera outbreak is becoming a problem in Syria. Cholera has been spreading in Syria since last September, but now at a much faster pace due to the lack of clean water in the earthquake-hit region. In response, the WHO is relaxing cholera vaccine administration regulations to combat a drug shortage in the hopes of easing the situation in Syria. Lee Seung-jae, Arirang News.
Now, rescue missions for the quake-hit region still go on. And South Korea is also stepping up with a plan to send a second group of rescue workers with tents and blankets. Our Lee Kyung-won with the details.
President Yoon has vowed to take the lead in helping Turkey, which he said is a close ally and brother country, overcome the sorrow of the past week's destruction and loss of life. The presidential office on Monday announced that the government has secured 150 tents and 2,200 blankets to use in the cold weather and will be sending them to Turkey this Thursday on board a military aircraft. Also on the flight will be a second group of South Korean rescue workers. The government has recruited 370 medical personnel, with 29 of them to depart this week.
Around 23 million people are expected to have suffered from this incident, so we have to urgently secure tents to temporarily shelter people in the cold weather. There is also a serious shortage of medical supplies and equipment.
Meanwhile, in Turkey, South Korea's rescue efforts continue. Seoul's foreign ministry says Sunday that the South Korean team rescued a 17-year-old boy and his 51-year-old mother on Saturday evening local time. He said the boy was unconscious and that the South Koreans gave him immediate medical attention before sending him to the hospital. The woman was in good health and was sent to the hospital as well. A few hours before that, the team also rescued a 65-year-old woman in cooperation with a Turkish rescue team. The South Koreans have been looking for survivors in Turkey's southernmost region of Antakya since the early hours of Thursday, joining efforts by the international community to save as many lives as possible. So far, they've rescued a total of 8 survivors. Young-eun, Arirang News.
Now, moving on, top officials from Seoul, Washington, and Tokyo have once again vowed to work together to deter provocations from North Korea. They pointed out denuclearization is a must for peace. Our Choi Min-jang reports.
The Vice Foreign Ministers of South Korea, the United States, and Japan have reaffirmed their commitment to cooperating against threats from North Korea. Speaking at a joint press briefing after a trilateral meeting in Washington on Monday, a South Korean official said the three countries will enhance their security cooperation to counter growing threats from Pyongyang.
First of all, we committed ourselves to respond firmly to any North Korean provocation and work toward complete denuclearization of North Korea. Indeed, peace without denuclearization is fake peace.
Standing united, our nations will deter the DPRK and urge it to give up its nuclear weapons program and abide by its obligations under UN Security Council resolutions.
The remarks come as Sherman said North Korea continued to threaten South Korea and the world with an unprecedented number of ballistic missile launches last year. The three countries also raised serious concerns over the threat of Russia's provocations in Ukraine.
In particular, Japan is seriously concerned about the threat of nuclear weapons by Russia. We concurred that Russia's such threat is absolutely unacceptable, and Russia should never use nuclear weapons under any circumstances.
The three counterparts have also agreed to further cooperate in areas vital to the international community, including maintaining peace in the Taiwan Strait, tackling climate change, and global health security. Stressing their trilateral relationship is strong and growing stronger day by day, Sherman reiterated that their alliance is both ironclad and vital to regional and global security. Choi Min-jang, Arirang News.
Now, following the trilateral talks in Washington, South Korea and Japan's first vice foreign minister sat down for a separate bilateral meeting at 4 p.m. local time. The ongoing dispute over compensation for Korean victims of Japan's forced labor during World War II is expected to be high on the agenda. While leaving Seoul for the meeting on Sunday, South Korea's first vice foreign minister Jo Young-dong told reporters that it's too early to say exactly when the two countries will be able to reach an agreement. Monday's meeting is also expected to address Japan's planned release of contaminated water from its Fukushima plant. Following Washington's shooting down of suspected Chinese spy balloons, China has also accused the U.S. of flying its own surveillance balloons over China. Washington immediately rejected Beijing's claims. Our Peunji with the details.
China has accused the U.S. of illegally flying high-altitude balloons into its airspace multiple times since January last year. The accusation made by the Chinese Foreign Ministry comes after China said it's preparing to shoot down an unidentified object flying near its ports.
Just last year, U.S. high-altitude balloons illegally entered Chinese airspace more than 10 times without the approval of the relevant Chinese authorities.
Washington immediately denied the allegations and said that it's open to talks with Beijing.
There are no U.S. government balloons over the People's Republic of China. None. Zero. Period.
Also, the White House dismissed recent speculation that aliens may be behind the recent high-altitude object it shot down after a U.S. Air Force general had said he would not rule out aliens or any other explanation yet. Over the weekend, the American military shot down 3 separate aerial objects, about a week after shooting down a Chinese spy balloon off the east coast of the U.S.
Again, there is no indication of aliens or terrestrial activity with these recent takedowns.
Meanwhile, a U.S. general said the American Air Force has also observed a number of high-altitude Chinese surveillance balloons flying over the Middle East and Afghanistan in recent years. But he added that they were not closely inspected because they did not appear to pose a threat. The New York Times reported that a Beijing-based company co-founded by a Chinese top airship scientist either launched or planned to launch high-altitude balloons, according to the company's website in 2022. It also said the company's goal was to create an airborne signals network in China using stationary balloons, and it aims to complete a, quote, global near-space information network by 2028, without elaborating on what that meant. Peunji, Arirang News.
The amount of nuclear energy generated in 2022 reached an all-time high here in South Korea, while also recovering to a level similar to those seen before the introduction of a nuclear phase-out policy. According to KEPCO on Tuesday, the amount of nuclear power generated from January to December last year was over 176,000 gigawatt hours, an increase of 11.4% on year. Now, that marked the first time it had surpassed the 170,000 gigawatt hour mark, the highest since 2015. That's when over 164,000 gigawatt hours were recorded. In addition, power generated from nuclear power plants last year made up 29.6% of all power generated, the highest since 2016. In 2017, the Moon administration adopted a policy to reduce South Korea's use of nuclear energy. It's that time of the year, Valentine's Day. For some, it's a day full of love. The day also gives us a good excuse to indulge ourselves with sweets. Now, speaking of sweets, zero sugar products are flooding the marketplace and replacing real sugar and sweetness. For more on this trend, we turn to Dr. Matthew Nusi from Continuing Medical Education. Welcome to the program.
Thank you. Thank you very much for having me.
Thank you for joining us. There are a variety of zero sugar products, from soda to even a type of Korean alcohol, soju now. Are zero sugar products really zero sugar? I mean, how are they sugar-free?
Right, yeah. So typically they are sugar-free. If they're labeled as zero sugar, they will be sugar-free, or up to about half a gram of sugar per serving. That's typically the upper limit where you can still label it as zero sugar. And what's typically done, if you eliminate sugar in a sweet product, you will replace it with either a natural or an artificial zero-calorie sweetener. Now, I did look specifically at soju and the zero-calorie version, and they actually did a decent job with this one. It does save you about 20% of the calories versus the regular soju drink. So I have to give credit where credit is due in that particular case.
Okay, that makes me feel much better when drinking soju now. Then, in theory, zero sugar products should be less harmful to us because they have no actual sugar in them, right? Then, are they a much better option for us in terms of health and diet?
So, in my opinion, that really depends on the person that's using the product. So, in moderation, these artificial sweeteners have been proven to be safe for the general public if the person is a healthy person of normal BMI and normal weight. The issue comes in really when we're talking about people that have weight management problems, are obese, are looking to try to lose weight. Then the evidence really shifts to the artificial sweeteners, meaning things like sucralose and aspartame. Those actually have a lot of evidence that they contribute to weight gain and some of the cardiovascular problems that go along with being overweight. And then you contrast that with some of the zero-calorie natural sweeteners, something like stevia, and there's evidence that shows that these type of products, the natural zero-calorie sweeteners, actually can help you control your blood sugar and can help you prevent you from putting on weight over time. So it really depends. Moderation is the key. There has been evidence, usually it's in animal studies, that sometimes artificial sweeteners are linked to some health conditions, but really none of that has been proven to be true in humans.
Right, I agree with you. Everything in moderation. Now,
correct.
Some say original full sugar products taste much better because obviously the real sugar in them. But why do you think many people are turning to zero sugar food? Is this a good trend? What do you think?
So I would first agree with the people that say that regular sugar tastes better than artificial sugar. I don't know who wouldn't say that. The artificials, sometimes they have kind of a chemical aftertaste. Really, I think this boils down to a few different things. Number one is there are some good artificial or zero-calorie sweetener products out there. Like we just talked about, I'm a big fan of the stevia sweetened zero-calorie products. I will recommend that in our offices. So there are some good products out there. Number two is we're becoming, as a world population, more concerned about gaining weight, becoming obese. I mean, this is as the proliferation of low-calorie or high-calorie, low-cost food kind of spreads around the world. Obesity is becoming a problem that we used to think was just a problem like in the Americas. It's becoming a problem around the world. So more people are trying to solve for that problem, and turning to zero-calorie sweeteners is one way to do that. And then number three is these are big corporations with big spending budgets for their marketing, so they can market products that make their product look really, really good. We've got to make sure we understand that being zero sugar does not mean it's low calorie. Those two cannot be conflated. We've got to become informed consumers and look at nutrition labels when they're available and understand what we're putting in our own bodies and see if that suits what we're trying to do dietarily for ourselves individually.
Right. For consumers, it doesn't hurt to have a variety of options, but also we have to be wise consumers, right?
Correct. Yes, absolutely.
Right. Thank you so much for joining us this morning.
Thank you.
South Korea's first lunar orbiter, Danuri, has sent back its first pictures of the moon's surface, including the ocean of storms. That's a large, dark area on the near side of the moon. Our Cho Sang-min has more.
South Korea's lunar orbiter Danuri sent back its first photos of the moon's surface on Monday, having entered the moon's orbit a month ago. As the first orbiter to be launched by Korea, Danuri reportedly entered the selenocentric orbit on December 27th after a 145-day journey through space. On the way there, it required about a month to switch its system into the main operation mode to begin its lunar mission. Danuri is currently orbiting the moon 100 kilometers above its surface, and the pictures it sent were taken at Valles Rada on January 5th, the Sea of Rains on January 10th, and the Ocean of Storms on January 13th. While revealing the photos, the Korea Aerospace Research Institute said it has found no errors with the orbiter's functioning since it began carrying out its main task on February 4th. The orbiter is designed to use its instruments to measure and evaluate the moon's terrain, magnetic strength, gamma rays, and other factors until the end of this year. The photos are expected to pave the way for more space projects by Korea that will identify potential landing sites for additional missions in the future. 조성민, 아리랑 뉴스.
For a look at the news from around the world, we now turn to our Matthew Ashley joining us here in the studio. Good morning, Matthew.
Good morning, Dami.
We are starting in Portugal this morning. An investigation has found that over the past 70 years, almost 5,000 children have been sexually abused by members of Portugal's Catholic Church.
Well, that's right, Dami. A report by an independent commission on Monday said at least 4,815 children had been abused. Now, noted that the victims were mostly male and between the ages of 10 and 14 when they were abused mainly by priests. Now, the commission, launched by the Portuguese Episcopal Conference, added that the number of cases is the absolute minimum and that the findings are just the tip of the iceberg. Now, in response, Portuguese bishops are set to meet in March to look at ways to prevent future abuses and provide justice to victims. The report comes after the Portuguese Catholic Church was hit by allegations last year of covering up cases of sexual abuse by still active bishops. Moving over to Moldova now, where the country's president, Maia Sandu, has accused Russia of attempting to overthrow its government. On Monday local time, Sandu said Moscow allegedly planned a coup d'etat using violent protests appearing as the opposition, but actually carried out by foreign nationals or organized crime groups. A document detailing the plan was reportedly intercepted by Ukrainian intelligence officials and was later confirmed by Moldovan authorities. The news comes as the former Soviet Union state looks to join the EU after becoming a candidate last year. The country has recently struggled with gas supply shortages, power cuts and an influx of Ukrainian refugees, as well as tensions with Transnistria, a pro-Moscow breakaway region. Shifting to football now, where Czech international Jakub Jankto has officially come out as gay. The 27-year-old midfielder made the announcement on his Instagram account on Monday, saying that he no longer wants to hide himself. According to the BBC, he is the first current international in men's football to publicly announce that he is gay. Jankto currently plays as a midfielder for Czech club Sparta Prague, on loan from Spanish La Liga club Getafe. Both teams have expressed their support for the player, as have the Czech national team and other footballers and football organizations. Jankto has played 45 times for the Czech Republic, scoring 4 goals. And finally, for those wanting to get over an ex this Valentine's Day, zoos across the U.S. have been giving people the chance to have vegetables, bugs and even carcasses be named after their former partners and then fed to animals. One location in Pennsylvania has a $5 bug-off package where the bug feeding process is filmed and then uploaded to social media. Meanwhile, another zoo in Texas dubbed their campaign "Cry Me a Cockroach." The trend is part of fundraising efforts that first came about 3 years ago, when zoos saw less visits after the outbreak of COVID-19. Zoos also tend to make fewer ticket sales in the colder months.
Good morning. After a spring-like Monday, morning temperatures across Korea dropped 3 to 8 degrees lower than yesterday. Feels like temperatures dragged down to around -5 degrees Celsius in the capital, and of course it's colder over in Chuncheon. Mountainous regions in Gangwon-do province, however, have seen 10 centimeters of snowfall since yesterday. Well, it stopped snowing for now, but do expect to see on and off more snow through tomorrow afternoon, possibly up to 10 centimeters. Meanwhile, the rest of the country will have mostly sunny skies today. The dust level returned to normal, but Daejeon and Sejong could have bad dust levels in the morning hours. And afternoon highs are lower, but still above norms. And due to the recent mild temperatures we had, it could feel chillier, so do dress accordingly. Jeju Island looks like it will receive frequent rainfall this week. The rest of the country will be under mostly sunny skies, and the seasonal cold will fade as we head into the weekend. With that in mind, here's a look at the weather conditions around the globe.
That wraps up today's New Day at Arirang. Do stay with us for more updates throughout the day. Thanks for watching.